Hello, it is 9 p.m. in RTD. It's time to English New Edition. For tonight headlines, we have the arrival of President Gele in Addis Ababa. For the international scene, the first African messenger RNA vaccine is in the testing phase of COVID-19. Welcome to our newsroom. After leaving Djibouti, the plane of the President of the Republic landed at Bole International Airport. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Gele, was welcomed at the foot of the tarmac by the Minister of Finance of Ethiopia, Mr. Ahmed Shide. The President was welcomed with all honors before meeting with Minister Ahmed Shide after a face-to-face of less than 10 minutes in the VIP lounge of the airport with the head of the Djiboutian diplomacy, Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, the ambassador of Djibouti in Ethiopia, Mr. Ahmed Abdi Mahmoud Heibe. The President is currently participating in the 35th Summit of the African Union. Indeed, the work of this 35th Ordinary Summit of the Head of State and Government of the African Union is the first physical summit that the organization which holds since a few years, where it had taken it for habit because of COVID-19 to organize its assizes and meeting by video conferences. If the main agenda of this meeting is devoted to the identifications of form of consequences of climate change. Several other issues relevant to the continent will also be discussed.
siyaasadda migane qaranka lagu maamuliyo mashaariicdiyo dhismaha horumarka muuqdayo dhaqaalaha soo mugbaxay niman maarayni jirin miyuu majaraha qabtaa siyaasadda migane qaranka lagu maamuliyo mashaariicdiyo dhismaha horumarka muuqdayo dhaqaalaha soo mugbaxay niman maarayni jirin miyuu majaraha qabtaa
jawaabtii waa maya
maya maya
jawaabtii waa maya
maya maya
ilaanka masaysane maruhi shisheeya dhilan
bulshada ma matali kare mangabku ayuni hodin
mangaku ayuni hodin
mangabku ayuni hodin
mangaku ayuni hodin jawaabtii waa maya
maya maya
jawaabtii waa maya
maya maya
ilaanka masaysane maruhi shisheeya dhilan
bulshada ma matali kare mangabku ayuni hodin
mangaku ayuni hodin
mangabku ayuni hodin
mangaku ayuni hodin
mangabku ayuni hodin
mangaku ayuni hodin
After the first day of the 35th summit of the African Union this morning in Addis Ababa, the President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh, had a series of bilateral meetings with the President Guelleh and Ethiopian Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed held talks on the sidelines of the summit. The discussion is focused on bilateral relations and issue of common interests to both countries. This first meeting was followed by a meeting between President Guelleh and the African Union peace envoy, Mr. Olusegun Obasanjo. The exchange focused on the discussion is focused on peace efforts in Africa. It should be recalled that Mr. Obasanjo had made frequent trips to East African countries and in particular to Ethiopia to promote peace and stability vital for any development in guarantee for a better future of the people. The work of the 35th summit will continue until tomorrow, a moment of the meeting after 2 years and a good opportunity to make decisions on the major issue of Africa. And the opening of this morning's of the 35th summit of the African Union in Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia, the 35th Summit of African Head of State and Government opened its doors for 2 days at the African Union headquarters under the chairmanship of the President of the Democratic Republic of Congo and current EU chairman, in the presence of the President of the Commission, Moussa Faki Mahamat, and the African leaders who meet in Addis Ababa for the first time physically since 2 years because of the pandemic of COVID-19. Our country is represented by President Ismail Omar Guelleh, who arrived in the morning in Addis Ababa, where he was welcomed by Ethiopian Minister Ahmed Shide in the presence of the Minister of Foreign Affairs Mahmoud Ali Yusuf and the Ambassador of Djibouti in Ethiopia, Abdi Mahmoud Ebe, and Djiboutian diplomat and high-ranking officials. The President went directly to the headquarters of the African Union to participate with his peers in the 35th EU Summit. During this summit, major issues will be addressed and discussed, including the continent's response to the scourges of the COVID-19 and the increase in the security threats, the issue of development, including the digital transformations and health nutrition. After the official opening of the 35th, the leaders physically took the official photo together and then participate in a closed meeting where a presentation will be made on the security situation in Africa, reports on the resilience of the basic development sector, on digital transformation, and other issues will be presented by the designated head of state to African leader at the 8-member meeting. The issue of inadequate external financing and the need for a new approach with the implementation of a Marshall Plan-like process will be at the center of discussions. African leaders must make important decisions for the future of the African continent. In addition to his participation in the 35th Summit of the African Union, President Guelleh will have bilateral meetings with some African and world leaders of personalities. And listen to the speeches of the President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh, for the first part of his speech at the African Union Summit.
Monsieur le Président, Mesdames et Messieurs les chefs d'État et de gouvernement, Monsieur le Président de la Commission de l'Union africaine, Mesdames et Messieurs, at the outset, allow me to extend my heartfelt thanks to the people and government of the Democratic Republic of Ethiopia for the warm welcome and generous hospitality extended to me and my delegation, as well as for the excellent arrangements put in place for the organization of the summit. I would like to also take this opportunity to congratulate His Excellency Abiy Ahmed for exercising his sound judgment in order to safeguard Ethiopia's unity. His initiative for the for dialogue, amnesty, and reconciliation is to be commended in a continental context that has been quite turbulent over the past year. I would like to reiterate to all of us here that we need to protect our institutions and guard against falling back into the same pitfalls that have stalled our progress in the past.
For the second part of his speech, the President of the Republic said the theme of these 35 ordinary sessions of the African Union is a challenge to which Djibouti fully subscribes, a major challenge for development and human dignities, but also a guarantee of social and political stability. It is in this spirit that we have, in addition to national strategy put in place at the continental levels, the comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program in Maputo in 2003, supported by the Malabo Declarations in 2014. The link between food security and resilience has also been placed at the head of the regional strategy of the countries of the Horn of Africa in terms of risk reductions, adaptation to climate change, and the fight against food insecurity and malnutrition. This commitment has, in fact, been translated into the drought resilience and sustainable livelihoods development programs in the Horn of Africa, which began implementation in 2013. It is in this spirit that Djibouti, taking advantage of its strategic position, has committed to host several international references institutions such as the regional livestock export centers accredited by the Food Agriculture Organizations and Organization for the export of livestock from the Horn of Africa, especially to the Arabian Peninsula. The National Food Analysis Laboratory, which recently received ISO certification for international health standards for the import of foodstuffs. The National Food Analysis Laboratories, which recently received ISO certification for international health standards for the import of the foodstuff, the regional hub of the World Food Programs to contribute to food security, especially for vulnerable populations and refugees in the Horn of Africa. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, despite a context that's not very favorable to agricultural development, as it is characterized by aridity and severe climatic conditions, Djibouti has made food security and water risk management a priority axis of the national strategy to reduce food insecurity and malnutrition. Climate change has, in fact, meant that Djibouti has been regularly exposed to various types of shocks in recent years: droughts, floods, and the threat of the locusts, which has a reflect negative impact on the livelihoods of vulnerable populations already weakened by recurrent droughts. The Head of State continues. He said that that's why the government of Djibouti, beyond the emergency programs, has been committed since 2014 in accordance with its Djibouti visions to 2035. No implemented programs. The President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh, project to support the agricultural, livestock, and fisheries sectors. Among these measures, we can highlight the population is the fixing nomadic population around water points through the mobilization of groundwater drilling or dams. Free access to agricultural land and to seeds and phytosanitary treatment products, free distributions of livestock to farmers who have lost their livestock due to the chronic drought. Our summit today, ladies and gentlemen, must mark the starting point of a real concretization of the commitment of the African states to remedy the nutritional problems of our continent. Our ambition must therefore focus on collective actions and a global, integrated, inclusive, and targeted approach. This is why my country advocates a framework for action that places nutrition and food security at the heart of the human development by creating an enabling environment through the establishment of a sustainable food system that ensure access to a healthy and diversified. That's why I recommend the strengthening of the management of the malnutrition and the promotion of social safety nets, the strengthening of the anchoring and coordination mechanisms between the different actors of food security and nutrition, is the improvement of the agricultural and food production is according to the needs of the national priorities from customs duties and basic foods product, and finally the strengthening of the national and regional program for the resilience to climate change. The deposit of the candidacy file for the communal elections of March 11 is closed today in accordance with the legislation in force. To this effect, the candidacy presented that have registered according to the conditions provided by the legislation in force. In addition, the President of the UNP, His Excellency Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, has presented the three lists for the city of Djibouti, namely the municipality of Ras Dika, Boulaous, and Balbala, as a reminder that due to the pandemic of COVID-19, the date of the regional and communal elections has been postponed to Friday, March 11, 2022. The date of the deposit of the candidature has been fixed at the latest on Saturday, February 5, 2022 at noon, and that the electoral campaign will be open from February 26 to March 10, 2022 at midnight for the first round. The President and the Prime Minister and President of UNP, His Excellency Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, has indicated, he say, I come so as the law provides the deposit of the list of UNP in the three municipalities of Ras Dika, Boulaous, and Balbala. I handed that in the hand of the prefect of Djibouti, who gave me a provisional receipt because the time that the file is studied by his services here, and the sources of our presence this morning is here. On the sidelines of his trip to Obok for the effectiveness of the deconcentrated services, the Prime Minister and his delegation, as well as the regional authorities, have jointly met the notable and civil society to set the tone. Prime Minister opened the floor first explaining the objectives of the tower. We are today in Hayu to take stock of the effectiveness of the deconcentrations of public services of the state. He said he reminded the notable to work with the state for the socio-economic development of the region. Several topics were on the agenda. Among the subjects raised to the non-transfer of competence due to a lack of directions of the various services, the delegation assured to act as soon as possible to remedy the problems raised. After the meeting with the elders, the civil society, Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, accompanied by the member of the government and the Secretary General of the Primacy, Naguib Abdullah Mohammed Kamil, went to the districts of the chief places Fanti Heru to meet the population. After the big welcomes for the Prime Ministers and his delegation, the delegation met the population of Fanti Heru under the tree. The inhabitants of Fanti Heru also took advantage of this meeting to express their needs and share the difficulties as well as their expectation from their government. At the end of the meeting, solar kits were given to the population of Fanti Heru. In the continuity of his trip in the region of Obok, the Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, accompanied by the members of the government as well as the Secretary General of the Primacy, Naguib Abdullah Mohammed Kamil, went to the locality of Asasan, 22 kilometers from the chief town Obok, On their arrival, the Prime Minister Abdulqadir Kamil Mohammed and his delegation were welcomed with great pomp by the population of this region. The objective of this trip to the locality of Asasan is to visit the working files of farmers of this locality who have benefited from the assistance of the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Agriculture Organization in order to allow the rural population to develop a local agriculture in line with their pastoral traditions. After a warm welcome, Prime Minister Abdulqadir Kamil Mohammed, accompanied by the member of the government, the Secretary General of the Primacy, Naguib Abdullah Mohammed Kamil, went to the agro-pastoral demonstration area in Asasan. The authorities visited the different gardens to see for themselves the actions accomplished by the farmers thanks to the supervision of the Ministry of Agriculture and the Food Agriculture Organization and the constraints they face. Prime Minister gave an instructions to the Minister of Agriculture, Muhammad Ahmed Awale, and Dr. Dademanao Pisong Changai, FAO representative in Djibouti, to accompany the farmers of Asasan and Sublali to improve their production. The Minister of Waqf Momin Hassan Barri, accompanied by the Minister of Health Ahmed Roble Abdillah, the Minister of Budget Osman Ibrahim Roble, the Minister of Finance Ilyas Musadawale, proceeded to the inaugurations of the Al Nourani Mosque in the neighborhood 7 behind the Dai Hotel. The mosque is a building that extends over several square meters. This building is overhung by a dome and a minaret of about 10 meters high. This new mosque of 3 floors erected within the district of redefining the urban landscape, and it fits perfectly into the urban landscape and the life of the districts. More precisely, it is in the heart of the public space. Indeed, the inauguration of this building of God was a consecration that made the joy of the inhabitants of this neighborhood. The reconstruction of this mosque was possible thanks to the patron that are the Dawale family. Recognition is an act of generosity towards the neighborhood. This event was attended by the Chargé d'Affaires of Saudi Arabia and Morocco. During the day of February 4, 2022, a joint operation of the Djibouti Coast Guard, the National Navy teams assisted a Yemeni Galba boat carrying 138 Ethiopian migrants who were heading to Yemen. The migrants were on board an overloaded boat and were in danger of sinking at any moment in rough seas and strong winds. The migrants were safely taken to Djibouti, where they received humanitarian assistance in food and water before being transferred to the relevant authorities for repatriation to their countries of origin. 2 Yemeni smugglers were arrested as part of this operation and will be brought to justice to answer for their actions while the boat was seized pending a court decision. This Thursday, February 3, 2022, the association Karma Karan visited a woman in childbirth at the medical hospital of Dakhil. The medical welcomed by the head doctors of the hospital, Dr. Abbas Umar Muhammad, and the gynecologist obstetrician, Dr. B.A., the president of Karma Karan, Ali Hilaf Muhammad, and his team proceeded to the distributions of new clothes for the mothers and their child. The majority of the participants and are new arrivals, and most of them are young mothers from the fastest reaches of the bush. This help, placed under the sign of solidarity, comes at the right time, sometimes alone, sometimes accompanied by a family member. They need moral and material support. The leaders of the CMH of Dakhil and the young mother did not fail to warmly thank Mr. Ali Hilafa and his team for this providential help. Launched in 2022, the Karma Karan Association has carried out charitable activities in all the localities of the Dakhil region to improve the living condition of our most needy fellow citizens, especially the rural populations. For the international scene, Vladimir Putin won the support of China's Xi Jinping on Friday in the tug-of-war with the West over Ukraine, with the Europeans stepping up diplomatic effort to avoid war. The Kremlin confirmed its expect French President Emmanuel Macron on Monday and Germany Chancellor Olaf Scholz on February 15 for talks with the Russian President. Emmanuel Macron will also visit Ukraine on Tuesday, and Olaf Scholz is expected before on Friday in February 14, visiting Beijing just before the opening of the Olympics. Vladimir Putin has, for his part, pleaded with his Chinese partners in a joint statement for a new era in international relations at the end of American hegemony. In this document, the two countries, with increasingly tense relations with Washington, denounces the role of Western military alliance NATO and the Axis Australia, United Kingdoms, and United States, judging them to be destructive for stability and equitable peace in the wars. They say they are opposite to any tensions around Ukraine. The West accuses Russia of having deployed tens of thousands of troops for most of the borders of Ukraine, seeing it as a sign of a large-scale military operation to come. And to close up this edition, a South African biotech company announced Thursday that has made the first messenger RNA vaccines against COVID-19 on the African continent using Moderna sequencing, and that would be ready for clinical trials in November. Afrigen Biologics and Vaccines is based in Cape Town, South Africa, and is leading to the pilot project supported by the World Health Organization, and the COVAX initiative is at the laboratory scale. We have vaccines that we now need to test. Afrigen's chief executive, Petro Terblanche. Animal testing will begin next month, but human will not start until around November 2022, she said after meeting with a group of project sponsors. Afrigen researcher sequenced the publicly available genetic code that Moderna used to design its vaccines, then made the DNA, RNA, and their own product. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us. Have a good evening.